JonGerhold, and I will be using SPSS to help assess the effect that chocolate may have on attitude over time. We're going to use a test that a researcher does. Researcher recruits a group of participants to complete the Acme Attitude Survey. Which is based on a 0 to 100 score. 0 equals very bad attitude, 100 equals very good attitude. So we're going to look at the effects chocolate has on attitudes, if they make people happier or grumpier, or what is happening based off the Acme Attitude Survey. This test is going to be given 4 times. One is a baseline, and then 3 more times. One of those times is 5 minutes after the participant eats chocolate. Then we have 1 hour later for the third test, and then the last test taken is 4 hours later. So using this data and SPS, I am going to demonstrate how to use this system to determine if chocolate may have a significant effect on attitude. And for this, since we are using 4 different variables or looking at 4 different sets of data, we are going to use a repeated measures ANOVA test. So the first thing that we need to do is kind of figure out if we meet the criteria for this. So we're going to look at and find the Maltese test of sphericity and kind of see if it meets the criteria. So to do that, I'm going to go up to Analyze, and then go down to General Linear Model, and click on Repeated Measures. And then my number of levels is going to be 4. I'm going to add that, click on Define. And then I'm just going to move my levels over. So the first test was taken before the chocolate. That's our pre-test. I'll move that over as 1. And we got to make sure we move these over in the right order. So the one that's done 5 minutes after. And then this one is an hour after, and then 4 hours after. And then we'll click on EM means. And then we will move factor over, click compare effects, compare main effects. And then click continue, and then click on options, and now we'll click on descriptive statistics, and continue, and then click on OK, and we shall see if it meets our criteria. Alright, so our data is right here. So I'm going to scroll down to Maltese test, and then I'm going to look right here. Now, if this value, look right here, if this value is greater than 0.05, then the condition of using the ANOVA test is met, and this is 0.33, which is greater, so we have met our criteria. And if you can look at our our significant difference, it is right here at 0.683. To kind of report this out, it would be x squared, and then in parentheses, df, which is this 5 right here, equals our approximate chi-square, which is 3.1111, and then our p would be 0.6833. And it did not indicate any violation of sphericity. So next up, we will go down to test of within subjects effect right here, and we're going to look right here. And we see that since it is less than 0.05, we reject the null hypothesis that there is no difference and conclude that there is a difference between the attitudes uh, uh, after there's been a positive increase in attitudes after chocolate has been consumed. Um, so to kind of get into more detail with this, I'm going to scroll down to and kind of compare the different times. Because at some points there might be greater differences uh, than or some greater increase in behavior or attitude after the chocolate was consumed between tests. So let's kind of see where the greatest kind of impact was and where it kind of maybe died off at. So looking at the test right here, I'm going to compare the pretest to all the others. So pretest with test 2, which is 5 minutes. We are looking at, when comparing these, we're looking at the significance right here, and since this is less than 0.05, we see that there is a significant difference, or it's had a significant impact. So there was a significant overall increase in attitude after the chocolate had been consumed in that 5-minute test. So between the pretest and the 1 hour test, we are looking at 0.147, which is greater than 0.5. So we do not see much of a difference, or we do keep seeing a difference between these. Or no, there's not much difference. It kind of dies back down. And then comparing the pretest with the 4 hour, we have 0.3999, which is much greater than 0.05. So we don't really have much of an effect at all. So if we look at between test 2 and test 1, which we've already compared, we do see that significant difference between test 2 and test 3, which is the after 5 minutes and then the hour after. So between test 2 and test 3, we have a 0.01, which is less than 0.05. So we did see a significant difference between test 2 and test 3. And then between test 2 and test 4, we see 0.005. Not much, that is less than the 0.5. So there is still significant difference as well between 2 and 4. So we're seeing a huge impact between 2 and 3 and 2 and 4. And let's look at the others. 3 and 1 we've already compared. 3 and 2 we've already compared. So 3 and 4, it is 0.745, which is much greater than 0.5. So there's really not much difference between 4 and 2, or 4 and 4 and 2, it is 0.005. So like we saw earlier, that is a huge difference, or it is a significant difference since it is less than. So there was some change. And then between 4 and 3, that's where we've seen the least amount. So looking at the overall data, we can confirm that chocolate does have a positive effect. However, it loses that impact over time. The greatest impact was the after the 5 minutes. After taking the chocolate and eating the chocolate and taking the test, that was the greatest impact. And that is how we use SBS to determine this data set.